Hi guys, and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be reviewing Doctor Who, The Christmas Invasion, which is the first ever Christmas special of the modern series. I hope you enjoy this video. There'll be a video either coming today or tomorrow of Only Fools and Horses, The Christmas Crackers, the first Christmas special of Only Fools and Horses, so stay tuned for that. But today we're going to be reviewing The Christmas Invasion, the first modern Doctor Who Christmas special, because, well, in 1965, there was a Christmas special called The Feast of Stephen, but I can't go back in time and collect it because it is missing from the BBC archives. Shame. Otherwise, I would be reviewing that instead of this. But hopefully, we'll get there one day, and hopefully, it'll be annotated. I hope we get there one day. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about The Christmas Invasion, what I thought of it, and my overall opinion on it. So stay tuned, and please remember to like and subscribe. Let's get all out of the way. I hope you enjoy it. So, how the story starts, we have basically the Doctor falling to Earth in that usual style of crush, bang, wallop. Quite a lot of that. And then we have David Tennant. I just have my figure here, which is quite old actually, my very first figure. I thought I might say that quick. Yeah, so we had David Tennant falling to Earth, and then he's like, oh, what? And then, like, you know, all the ramblings of the Doctor, he's like, oh, what? It was like, oh, Merry Christmas. Ugh. And he falls to the ground, basically pretending to die. And then Rose comes out and says, well, Mickey and Jackie go, who's that? And I was like, that's the Doctor. What Doctor? And I was like, oh, Doctor Who, and then the opening titles go, and then that's what happens basically. It's a little bit of a weird beginning, not to say the least, but quite good. And I do like the way Mickey like sees the titles and he starts running. Like, don't need to show you what running is. I don't know why I just did that. Don't matter. Yeah, so I did enjoy that beginning. I found it quite a nice way to ease you in, especially it's Christmas. You know, around 6 o'clock at Christmas. It's quite nice to end the day, really. And kind of nice. And then obviously we get Rose, and I was like, oh, that's the Doctor. And then after opening titles are finished, and then we come straight to the lounge, and Rose starts crying that the Doctor's changed the face, which I suppose most of the public have just seen Christopher Eccleston, so they're probably like, oh, they're probably a bit sad as well that David Tennant's taken over. And at the time, you got to remember David Tennant. No one really knew who David Tennant was, which is quite amazing considering how famous he is now. But no one really knew David Tennant as an actor, really. I think don't actually know what he's been in before, but this was his big break, and it gave him his big break. He did it for 6 years, though. Gotta give him some credit. If he'd stayed 2 more years, he could have beaten Tom Baker. So given that the second longest Doctor. Yeah, so I've got to say that was quite good. But I didn't enjoy that way that Rose cried at the sight of the Doctor having a new face. I found that kind of a bit weird. Because did you ever see Clara? Clara didn't really cry when Matt Smith became the 12th Doctor. She sort of was a little bit upset with it. Not really as bad as Rose was. But then I suppose the public were thinking that at the time, so I suppose they were supposed to like, you need this. So Russell Davies probably was like, oh, I need to do this. So, he probably quickly wrote that. And I think it's a good bit of acting, really. And Billie Piper is good throughout Series 1 and the Christmas special. But then, once we get to Series 2, the next episode, in fact, it all goes downhill with Rose's character. I don't know what happened, really. But, yeah, I think that this was her best acting on that part. Billie Piper did do very well in this episode. Got to give her that. But, still not a big fan of Rose. She's quite selfish, I think, a little bit, to be honest. Yeah, Jackie's great in this episode. Can't remember the name of the actress, but she's really great. Mickey's great. He's really great. He's great in this episode. Mickey. Obviously still turns down to go travelling again, but never mind. But I do enjoy that kind of start sequence, but the Doctor being in bed for half the story, bit of a cop-out, but it does give time for some great character development between Rose and Mickey, which was much needed from Series 1. So I did like how they were there, Rose and Mickey went to the shops, just a little bit of downtime, but then Mickey points out that Rose has become nearly the Doctor in a way, that she's just talking about the TARDIS and things like that, and all the stuff that happened and lots of stuff. I find it makes her appear less human than she actually is, and I do like that, which is quite nice, a nice touch, and I hope we do get some more stuff like that in the future when Russell T Davies comes back as showrunner. Super excited for that. Hopefully more Christmas specials like this. That'd be brilliant. Yeah, so I think they do a good job in that. Of course, I think that was great, that section. But then, obviously, the pilot fish come. Now the pilot fish, as villains go, or not villains, they are quite cool. They're dressed as, literally, they're Father Christmases with literally, musical instruments that set fire and shoot guns. Now that is quite cool, considering you just think they were just a random choir, which, is quite cool, And then they appeared again in the next one, but I don't think they were pilot fishing the next Christmas special, but don't matter. But they were really interesting. They were only after the Doctor's, spitty thing. What even is that? Time Lord thingy? I don't know. They didn't do it in the classic series, only a new series thing. I think it's they spit out this. I think it's like their regeneration or something. Now I just picture the Ninth Doctor's head floating out the 10th Doctor. Oh, that's probably a bit weird. But that's what kind of happens, and then the pilot fish come and take it and then do something with it, probably harnessed it, some random thing. Who knows, they may eat it, like the Family of Blood from that two-parter. Yeah, so maybe they're a bit like that, and that's what I've got to say there. But then that all happens, but then we do get the unit bits with Harriet Jones, which I really do like the sections with Harriet Jones. I think it's all great, with that sections specifically, because I do like Harriet Jones as a character, but from this point onwards, she, in my eyes, kind of revealed to me as a little bit annoying, to say the least, as a character. The way that she's quite mean to the Doctor, like saying, "Oh, they were innocent, they were leaving," and all that sort of stuff. But let's move on to something I find really interesting. The blood groups and how they kept the blood groups. I found that really interesting because they took the blood and then they basically blood A, and there was like that with the blood, and then they took it and they transported it, and then they managed to do the stuff that I really enjoy, where they harnessed it, and then their blood control, which the Doctor seems to know it's happened for years or something, whatever the 10th Doctor said. Yes. And he's wondering who's controlling all this sort of stuff, which I do find interesting. But let's go back to something I found really cool. Now, something as a kid watching this Christmas special, when I was a lot younger than I am now, just revisiting it in general, even though I wasn't around in 2005. But I really do enjoy killer Christmas trees. Now, I don't think in any other show you would get killer Christmas trees, but in Doctor Who, it's almost like Russell T Davies says, "Oh, why don't we make them Christmas trees? Why don't we make them Christmas trees that kill?" That's what I think Russell T Davies did in this picture. Me, I reckon him and his little team were like, "Oh, what can we do for the Christmas special? Let's have killer Christmas trees." Now, killer Christmas trees, I should have brought a little Christmas tree, that would be quite cool, but have killer Christmas trees, I think, is probably one of the coolest things ever, because they come out and they're like, and they're like, there wasn't really that noise, that sounded a bit weird, but which I found quite interesting, where they kind of span around and went which was quite good, and they're I like how Jackie was like, "Oh, I'm going to be killed by a Christmas tree," and her voice goes really high pitched, which I do quite funny. Sounds a bit like Kermit the Frog then. Yeah, I do. I did enjoy that. That was quite funny. And other things I did enjoy. Well, the blood control bit was quite good, but how the doctor says, "Oh, cup of coffee, cup of tea." It was like, "Oh, that cup of tea sorted me out really good." It's because I think the doctor realised, "Oh, blooming heck, Jackie, why on earth are you putting tea on the TARDIS floor and blowing up the winning circuits?" I think that's what worked the doctor up more. Yeah, I found that quite interesting. All that tea stuff, tea and coffee and all that sort of stuff, how it ruined the TARDIS system and it woke the Doctor up, giving him a fresh taste of life and like rehabilitating him. Well, back to being the Time Lord that we all know and love as the Doctor. But I think as first Doctor stories go for a new Doctor, I would say this is probably one of the best that we could say in general. But I do enjoy this fact that the Doctor is literally more of an action hero in this than other stories, other Christmas specials, in fact. Because in this one, he's more like, "Oh, I'm the Doctor. No second chances." You know, all that gritty 10th Doctor. Reminds me of the 9th Doctor, really. Well, I suppose he was just fresh off the bat. But the Sycorax, the War of the Sycorax and the sword fight, I found that quite cool. And how the Doctor gets his hand chopped off, like, and it was like, and then he goes like that. He basically just goes like, woo, basically like that, and then he goes. It honestly reminds me of a section from like one of those action films, where basically they're like sword fighting, going, doom doom diddly doom. Yeah, so I did find that quite interesting. That section at least, and yeah, I found that quite good on that section on the whole. But the blood control was really interesting. How all the people were going off to the edge, and then going down, being like 1 second away from jumping like that. And then the Doctor presses the big red button, and they will just go. Which was a bit of a cop out. I was expecting more stuff to happen really, but I did find that quite good, and I did find that quite good. Like I found that was really interesting, really as a whole. So that part was really good. The unit stuff with the aerials and things, it was okay, but I did like how the voice thing worked. Basically, where they had the main thing. Oh, I'm not sure there. The main thing where they were like, whatever. But the main missiles, and like I did like how the TARDIS wasn't translating. I found that was really interesting. How the TARDIS wasn't translating and all that stuff was happening, because it was causing like, Harriet Jones was like, oh, former Prime Minister, blah blah blah. Well, no, not former Prime Minister, Prime Minister at the time, saying blah blah blah, holding up the piece of paper, being all yada yada. What sort of stuff, which I did really enjoy, and people getting died just in front of us. How many times did you see that happen, really, that much? There's few deaths, no one really cares, to be honest. But we didn't really get to know those characters. If we'd known them from previous stories, and Mickey had died, then that would have been quite cool, and we would have like left Rose, and that would have been quite good. But no, we still had to have another series with her. Sorry, it's just upsetting. You thinking about what could have happened? Yeah, so that's what I kind of did enjoy about that story. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in a video very soon. Goodbye.